Hi again. Today I am here with another interesting part of the lesson, bringing Tony home. Let's start our lesson. Today we will do lesson 4. We'll talk about what happened in the last lesson. Yes, recapitulation. We'll see. We discuss and analyze chapter 2, Tony. Then we discussed how the narrator came to house at Egodavatta with his mother and sister, and we came to know his memories about Tony, and we focused on the map from Depanama to Egodavatta. Then we came to know how the narrator was sent to Depanama and the narrator's secret mission, then memories about Mrs. Jayasinghe and her family, and we discussed how the narrator meets Tony at Depanama and came to know how he came back to Egodavatta with Tony after fulfilling the assigned work. Then after reaching Navinna Hill, we came to know how he became sick and he got fits. Okay. Then he is at home with his next he is at home with high fever. That is the next scene. After that, he comes to know about Tony's missing. Then the narrator becomes aware of what happened to the dog little by little. Can you remember the assignment I gave you? Have you done the assignment? Yes. So, this assignment will help you to understand this lesson thoroughly. Okay. So, today first we are going to talk about the different versions of the story about Tony. Now, you can compare your version with the version today I am going to discuss. Okay. Different versions of the story about Tony. All the versions of the story are consistent to one point. Okay. Example, now you can see the similar parts of the story. The narrator came home with Tony the dog. By the time he reached home, he had a fierce grin on his face. After drinking a glass of water, he collapsed on the doorstep. Sirisena's mother rubbed some lime on all over his head. She chanted some mantra. The narrator recovered a little but had high fever for 3 days. So, in different versions, up to this point, the stories are same. Okay? Yeah. Now, this is the version of mother. We'll see. So, according to mother, yes, Tony was kept under the narrator's bed after that. Then it was a stormy, rainy day, and when father came home, he wanted the dog out of the room. So, this is how the narrator records that mother could have resisted and had her way. She normally does when she feels strongly about something, and father usually gives in. But I suppose deep within her, she also wanted Tony out of the room. So, by the incidents of day to day life, the narrator knows if mother tells something strongly, father agrees with it. But here he says mother also wanted to keep the dog out of the room. So, what is the reason for that? You can see. Why? Yes. In the same room, the narrator was on bed and blazing with high fever. Father was given the other bed and mother and sister had to sleep on the floor. So, you can understand there were only 2 beds in the room. So, the narrator was sleeping on one bed and father was sleeping on the other bed. So, mother and sister had to sleep on the floor. Okay. So what happens when the dog is there? You can understand. See, it would be natural for any mother not to keep her 2-year-old child next to a dog in the night. Yes. Then mother took Tony out of the room in a tricky way and tied him up the long veranda at the back. So you know that long veranda was next to Mr. Mendy's room. Okay. So you can see what happened to this animal. The poor animal, quite unaccustomed to such treatment, had kept up an unceasing spell of barking, mourning and howling through the night. So you know, when they were living in Depanama house, this puppy comes to the bed of the narrator. So see how he is treated now. Okay, kept outside of the house. Then Mr. Mendes became annoyed by the disturbing barking sound of Tony. He untied the dog and kicked him. Look at the picture. You can see what happened to Tony. Mother says that she had heard the yelping sound of the dog. So this is mother's version. Yes. Then what happened after that? Tony ran around the house and started to scrape the door of where the narrator's family sleeps. So you know this dog has the smell. Okay. So the dog can find the room where this family sleeps. So what happened after that? Father got mad and hit him. He must have been tired because after coming late at night. Okay. Yes. Then when father closed door, again the mourning, whining and scraping sound started. Then the mother came out and went around the house in the pouring rain and brought the chain and tied up the dog in the front of the house inside the veranda. So that is the front side of the veranda. Okay, front veranda. Yes. So in the morning what happened? We'll see. In the morning, the narrator's family faced a problem as Tony has defecated in the veranda. Therefore, once again, Tony was tied in the back veranda and it was very quiet. But when the night came, again he started to bark. Yes. Then after that, what happened? So this is something you experience usually. Yes. When one dog barks, what happens? Yes. The other dogs in the village too started to bark. Yes. So after that, now the narrator says, then comes the gray area in the narrative. Okay, that is the unpleasant part of the narrative. What is it? In about an hour's time, the rain ceased altogether and there was absolute silence. The barking too had stopped. Father had gone around the house to check and found only the chain tied to the wooden post. Tony had gone. So this is what mother said. Mother swears to say she heard Mr. and Mrs. Mendes muttering in the next room, and then she heard a door latch open softly, and within the next few minutes Tony stopped barking and one by one the dogs stopped barking. Okay? Yes. So let's see father's version. So there's a similarity between the version of mother and version of father, but it is different from the version of Mrs. Mendes. Okay? Yes. We'll see. When Tony was scraping the door of the narrator's room, father came out and hit him. This is what father said. I hit him several times with the flat side of the foot ruler, insisted father, meaning that this wouldn't have hurt him at all. So you can understand, anyway, the dog was ill-treated by all these adults. Yes, according to both mother and father, In about an hour's time, the rain ceased altogether and there was absolute silence. The barking too had stopped. Father had gone around the house to check and found only the chain tied to the wooden post. Tony had gone. So, this is what father said. So, you find the similarity between the versions of father and mother. Okay? Yes. Then, look at the version of Mrs. Mendes. Mr. Mendes was quite annoyed by Tony's barking and a couple of times opened the back door and only shouted at the dog to keep quiet. Look at the picture. Okay? Yes. Then Mrs. Mendes says that she distinctly could remember the sound of father going around the house to the back. But in her version, Tony was still barking and all the dogs in the village were barking. And the rain had not ceased at that time. Yes. How about your version? Is it similar to this one? Find it. Yes. Then, what is the final conclusion of the narrator? So, he heard many versions. Okay, but he came to a conclusion. What is it? Although the versions are different from each other, it is clear that Tony has been ill-treated by adults and as a result of that, it has gone. That is the final conclusion. Narrator was thinking whether father would blame him or not on bringing Tony home. But what happened in the evening? Father came home in the evening. The narrator understood that he was not angry with him but wanted to talk few words on the incident. What is this incident? Bringing Tony home. Okay? Mr. Mendes was in the hall inside the house reading a paper at this moment. And again, the narrator is referring to a historical event in Sri Lanka. That is the political context of Sri Lanka of that time. What is it? He was in a high state of excitement because Mr. S.W.R.D. Bandarnayaka's driver and Sir John Kothalawala's driver had gone into fisticuffs near the parliament, and in the newspaper that Mr. Mendes brought there was a cartoon showing the two drivers. So, you can see these two drivers, it is a metaphor. Two drivers indicate two figures of S.W.R.D. Bandarnayaka and Sir John Kothalawala. Okay? Yes. And behind them, two large shadows of Bandarnayaka and Kothalawala engaged in a similar combat. So, during that period, there was a clash between these two personalities. Then, father gave an advice to this boy or to this narrator regarding his action. What is it? He was saying that what I did could have been a noble deed, if not for one thing, which is that I had done it without consulting my elders. So, according to father, yes, he said it would be a noble deed if he got permission from the elders. But what would happen if he asked for the permission from the elders? Then father says, boys of my age should always consult their elders before doing such things, and they should always abide by what the elders say. Now, if I had done what I had done because either my mother or father had asked me to do it, then it would certainly be considered a noble deed. So, again it deals with the themes, two themes, which are parental authority over children and, yes, you know, such kind of children need the guidance of parents or elders. You can see the idea in the narrator's mind. He says, I wanted to tell father that if I asked my elders' permission to do what I did, I would never have been allowed to do what I did. And on the other hand, if they asked me to do what I did, I would never have done it. But I kept mum and listened to the frogs. Yes, again, you can see the mischievous nature of the child. Okay? Yes, there are children who behave in this way. Then, in his advice, father relates a story to this boy. What is this story? Yes, the story of Casablanca, the boy who stood on the burning deck because his father asked him not to move from there under any circumstances. So, dear children, have you read the story of Casablanca? Yes. Then you can see these are the stories we got from British imperialism. Okay. So, the narrator thinks over this story. You can see the idea of narrator regarding the story. Again, you can think, you can understand the power of critical thinking of this narrator, although he was 10-year-old boy. See, I thought, as I always thought, that Casablanca did a stupid thing by sticking there on that burning deck, because when his father asked him to stay there, he wasn't ever expecting the deck to catch fire. Yes, if father knows that the deck would catch fire, what would he do? You are very much sure the father never tells him to stay there. Okay? Yes. So he thinks Casablanca is a stupid one. Okay? Father talks about a poem, that is The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. You know, Alfred Lord Tennyson is a British poet. Again, in the assignment, I told you to read about this poem and come to know about the meaning of this poem. Okay? So, in the poem, they have mentioned the motto of that British Light Brigade. There's not to reason why, there's but to do and die. That was the motto. So, why does father talk about this poem? Because, you know, Alfred Lord Tennyson want to bring out the bravery and obedience and military discipline of Light Brigade or British soldiers in Light Brigade. So, you know what happened in this Battle of Balaclava? Okay, British soldiers who were in the cavalry regiment had to fight with Russian and Cossacks who were equipped with mortars. But the British soldiers had sabers and spears. So you can understand the mismatch. Okay, one of the high rank official or captain gave a command. It is a wrong command. Okay, so these soldiers knew the mistakes, but without questioning, they went to the battlefront. Okay, yes. So you can understand the intention of the poet in writing such kind of poem. So father also discusses this poem, talks about this poem with the narrator to show the bravery, obedience and military discipline of British soldiers. Okay? Then father telling me of 600 British soldiers and their shining example of obedience. So father wanted to talk about the obedience. Okay? Then in later period, this is what his English teacher, Mr. Arya Ratna, interpreted this story. Okay, story and the poem. You can see. So he remembers in later period, this is what his English teacher told about this story of Casablanca and the poem of Charge of the Light Brigade. Okay. 6 years later, my English teacher, Mr. Arya Ratna, grinned sarcastically at a class of confused senior form students and said that each one of those 600 idiots richly deserved to die, and that according to him, that means Mr. Aryaratna, both Casabianca and the charge of the Light Brigade, which had been dined into our heads from childhood, were nothing but supreme examples of British imperial stupidity. So that is why he sarcastically talked about these two things. So there is food for thought. Then, comparing and contrasting narrator's action with the story and the poem. So this is what narrator thinks on his event, comparing it with the story of Casabianca and the poem, The Charge of the Light Brigade. See, I very much wanted to tell father that my idea in bringing Tony home was not because I wanted to do anything heroic, like the boy who stood on the burning deck, or the 600 horsemen who rode into the valley of death, or on the contrary, not even because I wanted to do anything naughty and bad to annoy my parents. So then what is the reason of bringing Tony home? See, he says that I had done such things in the past, but simply because I felt bad about leaving Tony behind after he had been with us for such a long time. I also wanted to tell father that by the time I collapsed under those Mara trees just after Rosalie Nona's talk and went to sleep, I gave up hope of ever reaching home, but woke up and kept going because there was nothing else I could have done. I couldn't have gone back where? So you can see, he took such kind of risky journey because of the love for the dog. Then, now this had nothing to do with bravery or a sense of duty, of obedience, like in the case of poor Casabianca or 600 soldiers or 600 doomed horsemen. Okay? Yes. So you can see father's final judgment of Tony's missing. Yes. After relating those stories, now father gave the final judgment. What is it? It is an ungrateful dog, as it ran away like this after the narrator went through all that trouble to bring him home. Father tells the narrator that it's better to forget that type of wretched dog. So, dear children, what is your idea about the dog? Is it a wretched dog or ungrateful dog? You can see, mother is close to the child. Mother is understanding about the mindset of the narrator. That night, the narrator was not able to sleep. He became uneasy. So, mother understood the mentality of the child. She knew I was awake and spoke to me in a low but clear voice. Her voice was always low but very clear and sharp, and she spoke slowly, enunciating each word very carefully. So, what did she say? She said to me that night that I shouldn't worry about Tony. She said to me that night that I shouldn't worry about Tony, that he would certainly have gone back to Depanama, where he would be all right, because there were people there who knew him and liked him and would look after him. It is better it happened this way, because here Tony would have been very unhappy. Now you go to sleep. Those are the words of mother. Then the narrator gets adapted to live without Tony. You can see this is a kind of maturation. So how does he get adapted to live without Tony? He found playmates in the village. So who are the playmates? Sirisena, Munidasa, Ranal, Ratnapala, or his nickname is Helia. Okay? So, look at the quotation. Each afternoon, when the boys returned home from school, they would come and stand silently by the bamboo stile leading to our house, and I would dip into that black jar that held those marbles for me for well over 5 years, and take a handful of shining sparkling glass balls and join them. So, in the game he loses these balls, but he was not worried about that because he has playmates. And again you can see mother's action over this, and mother wouldn't stop me. Mother, who would never let me play with the village children at Depanama, had now suddenly become indifferent to my activities. So, again you can see in the first lesson we discussed the changes of people. So, earlier mother was strict, but now she became somewhat lenient. Okay? So, what is the reason behind this? Yes, there might be many reasons. See, and I didn't know whether it was because she was too tired or I was getting too big for her, or she let me go because that way I would forget Tony. So, mother was intelligent really. So, mother might have thought that this is the only way the child can get rid of the memories of Tony. You find the narrator and the friends encounter Mr. Manger one day when they walk in the path. Yes, so they were walking to the opposite direction. Earlier they came to Egodavatta from Vijayarama. So, this time they were walking to the opposite direction. So, Mr. Manger is a burgher person. So, you can see when he sees this boy, Mr. Manger speaks with the narrator in English because he knew the narrator's father. So, again you can get a kind of understanding about social classes. Okay? Yes. So, when he speaks with the narrator in English, you can see the narrator also was able to answer in English. And again you can remember the reaction of the boys. Have you read it? Yes. Other boys were excited. They got back a little. Okay? Yes. Then we come to know the behavior of this burgher girl, okay, Cleon, and there we can understand the cultural differences. Okay? Again certain subcultures are formed in our country as a result of different types of invasions. Again you can see multicultural society in Sri Lanka after independence. Then while he is walking with friends, now he is passing RAF camp, and there he is passing kitchen number 1. So, when he is passing kitchen number 1, again his memories go back to Greenland or his ancestral home at Havelock. Okay? Yes. How and why? At the corner where Ranal's compound ended and the camp began, there was a brick building with walls, unplastered but washed over with white, so that the bricks showed, and on the wall was written in large black letters, kitchen number 1. And as we came up to this point along the road, I had the delicious smell of roast beef. Again olfactory imagery. Okay? I could immediately identify the smell, for it was there every evening in and around Greenland's father's ancestral home at Havelock Town, where he took me once in a way to spend a few days, and on either side of which were houses where white folks lived. So, you can understand the nature of that area. So, most of the part you find the white folks. Then again Tissa Abeysekara included this kind of part in his drama Pitagamkara also. So, although it is not the same story, he included certain events and places in the drama. Look at that. Can you see? Yes, number 1. Okay. Then memories of Greenland. Yes, it comes as a flashback. The music was vaguely familiar. So you find when he is walking close to this camp, he hears piano music. Okay. So his memories goes back to Greenland again. The music was vaguely familiar and the smell of roast beef was still in the air, coming from kitchen number 1. And I thought of the lonely nights I spent at Greenland in Havelock Town, where I slept on a bed in the huge dining room with all those portraits of my ancestors looking down on me from the high walls reaching all the way to the dark, intricately carved wooden ceiling. So you can understand the nature of this house. Okay. So his ancestors come from English speaking background and rich people. Okay. Again, you can see in this part the writer deals with olfactory imagery as well as auditory imagery, okay, to bring out his idea. Again he says, and the smell of roast beef hung in the air, and I would always hear the notes of a piano floating in from somewhere, playing strange and sad, yet beautiful melodies, and I would miss the warmth of my mother and cry silently into the crisp white bed sheets and pillowcases which were cold and smelled of starch and camphor. So this should be a hotel-like house. So after those memories, he is coming back to the present. So you know, at the moment he is walking with his friends, okay, close to RAF camp. Okay, see, then what happened? On the pavement, just outside kitchen number 1, a man was seated on a wooden box, and he was pitch black, and he had his crinkly hair spread from ear to ear in that traveller's palm hairdo, and he was wearing a spotlessly white apron which made him look darker. And immediately on seeing him, Sirisena and the boys broke their silence and, clinging on the barbed wire fence, began clamoring for ice. So those days they didn't have fridges at their home. Okay, so you can see eating ice cubes is something new to them. Again you find in Pitagam Karyo also the narrator included such kind of man and giving ice cubes to children. You can see that. Yes. Then you can see, he says, little hill overlooking the Panipitiya railway station, where once upon a time there was a tennis court. Yes. So again he remembers Panipitiya railway station and the tennis court. Okay. He says once upon a time there was a tennis court. So that means now it is not there. Then in the evening father plays tennis with his friends. Messrs. Can you remember? Yes. Then the narrator sits on the embankment by the cactus bushes with Guneris, the servant boy, and watch the trains come and go in the station down below. So again this is given as a flashback. Okay. So this is what they did. They were living in a big house in Depanama. So he says the kind of train and kind of people travel by train. See, the trains were full of pilgrims, and white cloth fluttered like birds' feathers from the windows. Sheets of arecanut pods bristled, voices chanted, and along with it the iron wheels of the train braked. So, again you can see these pilgrims are going to Sri Pada or Adam's Peak. Okay. Look at the simile, fluttered like birds, and in the picture you can see in yellow color, you can see the arecanut pods, okay, sheets of arecanut pods. Again he talks about playing tennis. So, again we remember our colonial era. So, we got such kind of game because of colonialism. So, our people also embrace such kind of lifestyle. So, behind was the sound of the tennis ball hitting the racket, the ground or the net in a soft but clear and varying rhythm. Tuck, tick, tock, thoo. You can see how the ball touches the racket, that is the sound. Okay? So, you find the technique of onomatopoeia. Then, what happened to the tennis players or the messers who came to play with narrator's father? This is what happened. Then, one by one stopped playing. So, what happened to Arthur Kotalavala? Yes, he had a stroke and was ordered complete rest. So, he had to stop playing. Then, Bulna, what happened to him? He stopped playing as he is old. Then Mr. Subasinghe, yes, his wife had run away with a Tamil gentleman. So, after that he didn't come to play tennis. Then he couldn't face the friends. Mr. Samarasinghe, yes, he started to drink and was too drunk by evening. So, he was not able to play tennis. Then what happened to narrator's father? He had no time to play as he left home early in the morning and returned late at night. So, you can see the things have changed. Yes. So, here we find narrator's second visit to Depanama. We will see when it happens. It is about after a month of their arrival to Egodavatta. Then mother sends the narrator to Egodavatta to return some money she has borrowed from Mrs. Lawrence Perra. Mother advises him not to do a stupid thing like earlier. What is the stupid thing he did? Can you remember? Yes, bringing Tony home. Yes. So, what does the narrator think? All this was quite unnecessary, for by now I had struck firm roots at Egodavatta and I was going to finish up with whatever I had to do at Depanama and be back as soon as possible. For Sirisena and the boys had planned a game of cricket in the paddy fields, which by now had become dry and hard, and they were going to wait for me. You can see mother's plan. Okay. Now he is in a hurry to go back to Egodavatta to play with his playmates. So, you can see what transformation do you notice in the boy? You can see he got adapted to live without Tony. He found new playmates. Yes. But before going to Depanama, his mind was troubled. Why? Look at that. But I had a problem which kept bothering me. So, what is it? What if I were to meet Tony again at Depanama? So, this was the trouble in his mind. So, the narrator is very much sure that the dog would get his scent if the dog went back to Depanama. He remembers how the dog would bark 5 minutes before they could see the faint light of father's bicycle appear in the dark at the far end of the gravel path. The narrator is confused of thinking what to do if he meets the dog. The narrator is tense thinking of that, because you know he loves the dog. Okay? He doesn't like to hurt the dog. So, he wants to get rid of the dog without hurting him. Again, look at the map. here you can see, now he is going to Depanama. He follows the same route. You can see starts from Egudavatta, passing RAF camp, then comes to Vijayarama Junction, passing Navinna railway station, then Maharagama, then he has to come to Panipitiya. Okay, there he has to get down and passing Ambagashatara, he has to go to Depanama. Now think, he says he came to Panipitiya. Okay, he got down at bus stop at Panipitiya. So he is going towards Depanama. So what did he see? Yes, he was passing all gate posts, then passing the railway station, Panipitiya railway station. Then he was walking along the macadam road and he stops at the giant wheel. So where was this giant wheel fixed? It was the old tennis court. So he looks at it and there he meets his old friends, his playmates of Depanama, the three brothers. Can you remember? Piyasena, Jayasena and Jinadasa, the three brothers. So these three brothers come to talk to him with great surprise. So you can see how the narrator describes about these three brothers and how they looked at him. See, kept looking at me from head to foot like I had come from the moon. Yes. So you can see the reaction of the narrator. Okay. Although they are his friends, yes, he wants to get rid of these friends. But I was in a mighty hurry and mumbling some excuse went on my way. What is the reason? Why was he in a hurry, in such a hurry to go back to Egudavatta? You know, there in Egudavatta he has his own friends. Okay? Yes. Then he talks something about these three brothers. Okay? So you can see memory about three brothers. Piyasena, Jayasena and Jinadasa, three brothers who lived in a wattle and daub house on the edge of the paddy field within sight of the house we lived in, and who would come every evening and play with me in our backyard because mother wouldn't let me go out and play with them. So you can see when they were living in Depanama, mother didn't allow him to go outside and play. Okay, those three brothers came to their compound to play with him. Again, now you can see what is happening now. He passes this tennis court. Now he is passing Ambagashatara. Then he is reaching the bordering of Mrs. Jayasingha's land. Can you remember where he met Tony at the last time? It's the same place. The sound of devil drum at Devale depressed him. Again, you can see some cultural features of our country. He thinks to take the shortcut through Mrs. Jayasingha's land to get away from the sound of drums. You can see he was depressed of thinking Tony also. Okay? He doesn't take the shortcut because of the fear of the ghost of a woman who was murdered near Kandahene estate, a rubber plantation. So he didn't take the shortcut. He reaches Mrs. Lawrence Pereira's house by normal route. Yes, you can see from Panipitiya, then passing railway station and Ambagashatara, and he reaches Depanama. Okay? Then what happens at Mrs. Lawrence Pereira's place? So by the time he goes there, you find Anton and his two sisters, Girlie and Frida, had gone to New Australia for holidays. So how does the narrator feel? See? And I was happy for that because I could get away soon. Mrs. Lawrence Pereira insists him to have lunch. She says that Tony is all right at Proctor Gunawardhana's place. The narrator sets off immediately after lunch because he wants to play with his friends. The narrator is tense when he walks near Proctor Gunawardhana's place. He came to know that Tony lives at Proctor Gunawardhana's place. Then what happened? First I heard a faint whining sound and I closed my eyes immediately. And then there was the sound of rushing dog's feet and something fell heavily against my legs. So you can see the tactile imagery. Yeah. Then the narrator meets Tony for the second time. Then what does he say? It was Tony and also not Tony. Oxymoron. Tony. It was Tony and not Tony. What does it convey? Yes. Again he says, this was a sick dog with sores all over. Tufts of fur stood among patches of red skin through which the bone showed. So you can understand how the dog was suffering. Then this time also Tony was following the narrator. But narrator knows he can't take the dog home. So what does he do? He stops at Mary Akka's little hopper botty. So Mary Akka came from inside and when she saw me, her face darkened. What is the reason for that? First he pays 5 cents and buys a bun for the dog. Now you can understand, although he was in a hurry to go to play with his friends, he stops at Mary Akka's boutique shop, Mary Akka's hopper boutique, to buy a bun for the dog. He spends some time with the dog. It is because of the love he has towards the dog. Yes. Then again you can understand why Mary Akka's face became darkened. See, she wanted me to tell mother that it was very bad on her part to have gone away without as much as a word of farewell. She also said that she wasn't thinking of the money we owed her. So you can understand, mother has taken some money from Mary Akka. Then I gave him the bun. So you can see, he gave the bun to the dog. I gave it to his mouth. He held it lightly for a moment, undecided, then circled couple of times and still holding the bun in his mouth looked up at me. That means you can see the dog is not eating the bun, because dog also thinks if he eats the bun, he will lose his master. So dog also has a kind of very strong love towards the master. Tony starts to eat the bun only when the narrator squatted down. You see. Then now the narrator wants to get rid of the dog. So you can see how he does that. First I stood up and Tony paused briefly in his eating. But when I stood still, he went back to his bun. Yes. Then what happened after that? See, then I took one step back away from him and he didn't notice, and another step, and then another and another, and Tony kept eating his bun. So he wants to go away from the dog without hurting him. Then I turned around, closed my eyes and ran. See, the narrator passes Ambagashatara junction, then passes Manchi Akka's boutique. You can see he is running. Then finally he comes to Pannipiti railway station. So you find there was no crowd at the giant wheel. Earlier there was a big crowd, but now the crowd has gone. Then he comes to the platform which was about 4 feet above the rails. Then he passes old gate posts and reaches the bus stop on the high level road. So, you can see the narrator is waiting for a bus for a long time. So, again he is thinking whether the dog is following him or not. He is sweating, he is panting. See, when finally the bus came after what seemed like a long time, I knew the crisis was over. Yes, what is this crisis? What is the crisis mentioned here? Yes, it is, yes, to get rid of this dog and come back to Depanama. He wanted to get rid of the dog without hurting him. Okay? Yes. So he had a fear that he was thinking whether the dog would follow him or not. Okay? Now there is no more crisis. Okay? Then the narrator takes a ticket to Vattegedara. Now this time he doesn't go to Vijayarama, but according to Sirisena's instructions, he got down at Vattegedara. Okay? From there he hopes to come to Egudavatta by a shortcut. Okay? Then why is the narrator in a hurry to go to Egudavatta? You can understand. Today Sirisena and the boys would be there waiting for me. We were going to play cricket, and if we could finish the game before dark, the boys were going to show me the Borales Gamo tank. Now in your map you can see Borales Gamo tank also. Okay? See in blue color here you can see Borales Gamo tank. Then you can understand both Tony and the narrator part forever. So he says, there was no dog on the road and I knew that I would never see Tony again. And it would be a long time before I revisited Depanama, because there was nothing for me there anymore. So, you know, as an adult, he again goes to Depanama and visits. Okay? So, he knows by that time Tony would not be there. Then we came to the end of the lesson. So, this is the summary of today's lesson. We discussed different versions of the story about Tony, and under that we talked about mother's version, father's version and Mrs. Mendy's version. And then we discussed father's advice and narrator's idea regarding the story, and how father related about the poem, the charge of the light brigade. Then narrator's English teacher, Mr. Aryaratna's interpretation of the story and the poem. So we find the comparing and contrasting narrator's action with the story and the poem. Next, we find father's final judgment of Tony's missing. Then we watch a video clip on Kitchen Number 1 and Memories of Greenland, and there was a flashback of the tennis court and what happened there. And we talked about how father played tennis with Messrs, and we came to know what happened to the tennis players. Then, you know, narrator's second visit to Depanama and his playmates at Depanama, the three brothers, and how he goes to Mr. Lawrence Pereira's place, and finally how he parts from Tony forever. So this time also I am going to give you an assignment. Yes, this is that. Read the chapter The Little Train. In the map, find the routes that the narrator takes to go to two schools. Then find the different paths selected by the narrator's friends in Eggodavatta. What changes does the narrator find in Eggodavatta and Depanama when he revisits those places as an adult? Then write the changes of the landscape and people. Okay, that's all for today. So we have reached the end of the lesson. We are going to wind up the lesson and hope to meet you with another interesting lesson. Till we meet again, goodbye. Have a nice day.